month 4 of the business, the handyman business, is done. It's been a busy month. Yeah, I know, I just started recording. I guess I'm just gonna go over what I want for the future. I think that's a lot of my mission with what I'm trying to do, is build the future that I want and achieve some things. Content, honestly, I have not thought about content much besides for the last 34 seconds that I've been recording. But I think right now I'm planning on continuing to film videos just like this once a month. I think once a month is a good period. I might bring on some other entrepreneurs that I'm meeting, and we'll just talk for 20 minutes about what we want the next month to look like, and maybe some of the metrics of last month. That's the plan with content going forward. For the business, last month I haven't been keeping good bookkeeping, so I don't know my exact numbers, but it's been my most profitable month for sure. Even though I don't have the exact numbers, I know how much I've billed, but some of that's material costs, and I'm not exactly sure how much is profit and how much is part of my costs of goods sold. Pulling up my invoices right now. Invoices, my breakdown. Last month. Okay. Either something total. January 28th. That's why. I was wondering why my numbers were so low. I had a big invoice come through 2 days ago, which was technically, technically February, but anyway, so earnings last month, $5,600 of revenue. I think my profits after cost of goods sold, so we're taking into account just material costs, would be about 4,000, but I don't know for sure because my bookkeeping hasn't been good. I tried switching to QuickBooks, and I haven't figured out how to get everything current and accurate. So what I'm planning on doing is to just wipe the slate clean, because I'm only a few months in anyway. Then I can start getting data categorized and have a detailed P&L breakdown. But I'm happy with last month's earnings. So the last week I've made $2,000 profit, which is the most I've ever made in a week. So that's a big W. That's $8,000 a month if I can maintain that pace. Last week I worked 67 hours. That's something I've started doing, is tracking exactly how much time I'm putting into the business. Is like, if you don't know how much time you're putting in, you don't know how efficient you're being. You don't know what you're getting out for what you're putting in. And then what's cool about this time breakdown is that I can see different categories. So if I look at my report, and I'm going to actually switch this around. Still learning the system. But if I scroll down right here, I have it set up by category. So right here, this is my pie chart. I haven't labeled the colors very well, but because I'm just learning this system. But if I look at this chunk right here, this is service and fulfillment. So 27 hours spent on the job doing actual work. And then looking at my breakdown, I have 4 hours and 35 minutes of miscellaneous, 4 hours and 32 minutes of sales and marketing, and then 19 hours of R&D, which would be building and learning systems and processes. So this 19 hours was learning how to do drywall, and then I went and did a drywall job right after doing that. And this is actually 2 weeks ago. Let me filter by last week, because this is my total hours, which is 56. Weekly. Oh, that's not showing a breakdown. This should be showing me. I'm not sure why this. Oh, here it is. Okay. Last week, that's what we want to see. Okay, last week was 67 hours logged. And what's cool is once I have better breakdowns of my actual earnings, I can compare like the time I put into the profit I made. Last week I know because I just did the math in my head, which was about $2,000 profit. So I put 67 hours in and I was able to make $2,000. And if you're curious, that averages out to $30 an hour. But 51 hours was spent on the job, actually fulfilling services. 10 hours spent on R&D. This is mostly studying for my builder's license, and then 5 hours and 34 minutes on sales and marketing. And if I can't expand that category, but I can. If I click on sales and marketing last week, yeah, most of that is in-person networking. Actually, I think I have 10 hours of R&D, 5 hours of sales and marketing. This 5 hours is networking events. This 10 hours is studying for my builder's license. And I think there's got to be some other entry in there because I only studied for an hour every day. Let's see. And I'm still figuring out this whole system and how to keep everything organized. Here we go. This is a 3-hour entry. But I like it. I like just being able to see exactly how much time I've put in, and then I can see exactly what I'm getting out in terms of profitability and some of the big moves that I've made in the business. I just feel like this closes a system so I know what tasks am I doing every single day. And this should help me when I'm looking to scale and start delegating tasks and be like, okay, I'm generating $8,000 a month by myself, and I'm still doing, it could be, if we look at the summary, it could be like, okay, why don't I hire somebody to do the admin, because I might have a bunch of admin hours logged of like keeping track of everything and or following up with customer communications. And it's not going to be perfect, but I think it's going to get going on, and then give me an idea of how to delegate and how to properly allocate my time. Because what I can't get out of my head is like, Elon Musk has the same number of hours. He just spent them differently. And so how can I spend my hours more effectively? And honestly, I don't know what the trick, I don't know what the secret sauce is. I know like I have a rough idea of what I should be doing, which is I should be learning quickly. And my recent thing is I should be taking risks. And the reason I should take risks is because the more you can just like run into it, the faster you can hit the potholes and learn where they are and learn what's going on. Like basically fail quickly and learn quicker. I know for sure if I do that, I'm going to be able to progress faster. But the question is, where else can I apply my time that's going to produce the largest result? Because really, in reality, you only have 24 times 168 hours a week. And then I'm going to assume like I need about 9 hours of sleep to operate at my optimal. So 63 hours are going to be spent sleeping. That leaves 105 hours of work time, of like possible work time. Beyond that, you're cutting into sleep, and that's not going to be sustainable. And so my question is, how do I spend that time and allocate that time to get the most out of my business? And that's what I'm trying, like, I don't think I'm going to be able to find the answer. I think it's just going to be a matter of spending the time and being like, what did this actually gain me for all the time that I've put into this week? And a process of learning how to use my time to my advantage. Because, okay, 2 examples. I have 105 hours next week. I'm going to say probably at least 30 hours of personal time. That would leave a 70-hour work week. Last week I worked 67 hours. It wasn't fun. But I made a lot of money and got stuff done. Anyway, my point being is my realistic working time that's sustainable. At my level, I don't know that I could sustain more than 60 hours a week. So that gives me, we'll just say 60 hours a week. And last week, I spent my hours and I made $2,000. how can I spend my hours this week to produce as much or more money, which is the end goal? How can I allocate this time to get the most return? Because I could spend 30 hours uh, learning Google Ads and getting into paid ads. Maybe that would be worth it. I could spend 30 hours organizing my van and getting that set up. I could spend 60 hours. I mean, there's like an infinite number of things you can do. And I think business is about how do you do as little for as much as possible. And so my question that I think I should be asking regularly is like, how do I spend the 60 hours to get the most result? Because there's a lot of different things you could do. You could go to a ton of networking events. I could spend 60 hours on the job doing repairs, which would probably generate the most immediate revenue. Is that going to generate the most revenue long term? I don't know. It might make sense to intentionally spend 20 hours a week organizing my van systems, or intentionally spend 20 hours a week going to networking events and building good relationships and potentially partnering with property managers that would give me work. So I'm like, where do I put this time? So that's a question I'm asking. Real. And this was good because I was talking to one of my entrepreneur friends. He's got a pest control business, but I showed him my time breakdown of last week. And he asked me a question like, well, what are you going to change this week based off of what you observed last week? And I think that's a good point. It's like, okay, I have this cool graph that breaks down what I'm doing. How am I going to use that to change my future actions? Because if I'm not changing what I'm doing based off a data set, what's the point? At least that's what Alex Ramosi says, and he has money. So, project, I want to, subcategory, why? I'm looking at my time breakdown. Okay, there we go. Sweet. I don't even think I showed the... So, back to the graphs. Nerding out on this, but I think this is worth putting the effort into track, to be honest. So last week, based off this spread, obviously, the biggest portion of my time was spent on the job doing jobs. And then 5 hours of networking, an hour and 45 minutes doing a callback service repair. So that was a job that was not done up to standard, and I need to go back and fix it. 3 hours spent organizing my van, 3 hours doing a store run. I don't know, like maybe that fits into my normal service, like on the job. And then 7 hours R&D. That's almost all studying for my builder's license. But so if I want to look at what the next week has and where the highest ROI on spending my time, to be honest, I'm thinking networking is going to be a very, very high leverage area to put my time into. And that I could focus and try to get as many hours on the job, but that would generate the most revenue that week, like on the job with billable hours. That's going to be the way to make the most in 1 week. But I'm thinking longer term, I need to meet people that are doing things that I'm not doing and that are more successful than me. I need to see somebody who's making... Right now, I'd like to meet somebody who's 18, 19, making 10K a month by himself in the service industry, doing some trade, or ideally as a handyman. But I think it would be more realistic to find somebody in the trade. I don't know if I can even find that. Like, that seems maybe unrealistic. But the closest I could get would be find somebody who is just a successful young guy with his own business. And if he's not young, you take the closest approximation to what you can get. My point being is that I need to meet people that are successful. And to do that, I need to go to networking events. And so this upcoming week, my breakdown should probably be more networking events. And I think based off my schedule right now, it's going to be like that. I don't think I'm going to have a ton of hours on the job. Maybe I don't know, if I had to guess, maybe like 20 to 30. And then I'm going to have, like, I got to get my van organized. It's kind of an explosion from last week. Um, I think I do, or maybe I don't. Maybe I completely let that bridge burn and focus on, maybe I should pick up the phone and start ringing people up and try to make some sales. That's where, like, where do you put your time? You're limited to, in my case, I'm kind of dealing with a budget of 60 hours a week, just because I know that's what I can do. And I think I can do that consistently. But the question is, where do you put these hours? Um, and I think I need to continue asking that question. Probably, I don't know. I don't see why I wouldn't be asking that question in 6 months, because in the end, all you have is where you spend your time. And so if I'm trying to get something, it's going to be, am I spending my time doing the right things? Which is why I like the time breakdown. Yeah, so next month, revenue goals. I think my last video, I thought I would make about 5,000. Man, I don't know if it was profit or revenue that I was shooting at, but I hit $5,600 revenue this month. That's great. Next month, I think 6,000 is realistic. I think 6,000 is realistic. Some things I want to do with the business. I think I need to niche down a little bit more and be like, what am I really offering as a handyman? I think I need to more clearly define what problems I'm solving and make like an actual list. So, what's my customer avatar? I mean, I don't even know that at this point, which is, again, it's fine, because I'm still figuring out the business. But I think long term, I need to understand exactly what customer I'm serving and exactly what service I'm going to be offering, and then just get really, really good at it. Right now, I have in my mind for my ideal customer to just be a residential homeowner with a big list of repairs that they need. And so I guess when I'm thinking of niching down what repairs I offer, it's going to be what's that customer most often needs. And I'd say, in my experience from people that come to me with a list of repairs, it's minor modifications like adding shelves, doing that sort of thing, and then fixing baseboard, fixing trim, hole in a drywall. They want to paint a room a different color. Their light switch doesn't work. They're missing a light switch cover. Their weather stripping doesn't work. Their door sticks. All of those things. And I think just like going through and listing it all out, and then that right there is my business. That's the problem I solve. And then once I have a well-defined like service of like things that I do, and then I can spend my time on R&D and building systems to really efficiently solve those problems. So like, what is the most efficient way to change a doorknob? And how do I do that with the least amount of steps possible? I probably have the right screwdriver. I probably study the process and understand exactly what needs to happen in order to replace a doorknob. I probably have a trash can next to me so I can throw the trash straight into the bucket. I probably have a bucket with every tool I need. So a drill, a set of screwdrivers, a chisel set, because you're oftentimes chiseling out wood. And then sometimes you run into doors that are damaged and you might need to patch it and then paint it. So, okay, let's make sure I'm set up good with a painting setup. Let's make sure I know how to patch this. Let's make sure I know how to use a chisel and chisel out, if I need to chisel anything out for the new door hardware. All of that's like picking the service, and then building the system around it. And then I can change a doorknob in 5 minutes and do it professionally and do it to a high quality. And I can charge the customer $50 and I can make $50 in 5 minutes. That's kind of the process I'm using to gain leverage over my time. Because again, in the end, it's where do you spend this time? Because that is the only thing you have to make whatever you want happen. So next week, networking events, and then I know I need to get my van organized. I mean, I just think I think it's hard to build a system if you're not really organized. I mean, you have no system then. That's kind of the point. And it's hard to create replicatable results without a good system. And so I want to get my van organized, and then go to networking events. I have a to-do list of stuff if I run out of work, like if I feel like I need to get more jobs. Um, some people I can call, follow up with previous contacts, make a post on Nextdoor, um, talk with my friend Nick, who mentioned making posts on Facebook Marketplace to market services. I could look at Google paid ads. See, I have my cousin has been doing some with paid ads and been successful with it. She has a cleaning business. And these are all things that I could do if I feel like I need more work next week. Honestly, I think based off the customers that I have jobs lined up, I might be pretty much booked. But yeah, that's a play. $5,600 of revenue this month. Let's go. I'm liking it. I like it a lot. I like the time breakdowns. I need to figure out my bookkeeping. I need to be able to look at the end of the month and see a detailed P&L with category breakdowns of each expense and everything. How am I supposed to run a business without knowing where my money's going? And this month has been bad for that. So I think that's on my to-do list right now, is get current on QuickBooks. And part of the problem is I don't know exactly what needs to happen for that. I might need to find a bookkeeper and see, like, hey, like, how do I do this? I don't even know, like, because when I connect my bank account, it's just, without going into too much detail, it's a confusing process, but I need to start running headfirst into that and see if I can figure anything out. Because ideally, I would wipe the slate completely clean and start tracking all my expenses in QuickBooks, all my profit in QuickBooks, categorize everything, reconcile everything to my bank account, and that way everything's nice and neat and tidy. And then next month and the following months, I have a detailed P&L each month, and then I also have everything lined up for taxes when I eventually have to pay them. That's the dream. And then I can also match it up to my time breakdown too, because I think that would be pretty interesting. But a lot to do. Luckily, sometimes when I get overwhelmed, I'm like, there's so much to do and not enough time. I don't have enough hours in the day. But I'm not going anywhere. So, if I can't do it this week, I'll do it next week. If I can't do it in the next 2 weeks, I'll do it the week after that. It's like, eventually it'll get done. And if it doesn't, it probably wasn't that important to begin with. But leaving this video with one thought: how do you prioritize your time? What is the most bang for buck in terms of where you spend your time? That's the question I have to ask myself. And I think networking is pretty important. I can get jobs from networking, and more importantly, I can learn from other people that are successful. Peace.